I really need everybody to roll for initiative. We're about to face one of the most creepy, gooey, mind-bending monsters in the new monster manual. The Blob of Annihilation. The Blob of Annihilation is one of my favorite monsters that was reimagined in the 2024 Monster Manual, which is oddly named because the Monster Manual released in 2025, but you know what? Whatever. Think of the Blob of Annihilation as like this giant cosmic vacuum that snacks on a Pantheon or two for breakfast. I'm married now, which is kind of cool, so that's a thing that happened. The Blob of Annihilation is essentially a coagulation of cosmic entropy fused with the remains of dead gods. It drifts through wild space and the broader multiverse in search of places and things to consume. Historically, it's showed up under different names in older Dungeons & Dragons lore, but it has always retained its catastrophic nature. As the name implies, the blob is basically a rolling black hole, devouring entire forests, villages, and even fortresses. In some grim twist of irony, it can also consume some legendary artifacts like the Deck of Many Things that can be found when you slay the Blob of Annihilation. You can even find the skull of a dead god inside. And with stakes like these, the blob is less a mere monster and more of a cosmic event and maybe even a narrative plot point that can define an entire campaign. When the Blob of Annihilation finally appears, you know the stakes have skyrocketed. Often, it's summoned by cataclysmic disasters or a dangerously nihilistic magic user. The presence of a dead god or legendary artifact in its goop only heightens the significance of its appearance. Some see it as a treasure trove, while others view it as a doomsday scenario. And indeed, the blob possesses the greatest threat to the inhabited realms that I can think of. It just rolls across the landscape and just mindlessly consumes everything in its path. Anyone foolhardily desperate enough to venture inside for the possibility of uncovering powerful relics is typically never heard from again. Do you think your adventurers have what it takes to dive in and grab your own copy of the Deck of Many Things? I've got one back there. If you really want it, I'll just lend it to you. You don't have to go facing a Blob of Annihilation for it. So speaking of being prepared for cosmic threats and epic quests, if you're looking to get even more out of your TTRPG experiences, head on over to my Patreon. Supporting me there is like unlocking an endless supply of bonus content, ad-free episodes, and even exclusive giveaways. Now, let's dig into the Blob's stat block and see what makes it such a formidable foe. Wizards wanted to make sure that they included a high-level boss monster for each type of monster in the game. For oozes, this is the peak of destruction. And oozes are kind of my favorite monster. They're underrated. They can do some really cool things. This is obviously classified as a gargantuan ooze, a titanic scale, if you will. It has a staggering challenge rating of 23. It comes with an AC of 18 and a massive 448 average hit points. To make matters worse, it has legendary resistances. It gets 4 a day and magic resistance, so it's great at shrugging off your best spells. Despite having a modest movement speed of 30 feet, the blob compensates with its horrifying 600-foot range restraining glob attack. Yeah, you heard me right. That means if you're trying to deal with this thing, you're pretty much always going to be in its threat range. It drags unsuspecting targets right into its oozy mass. Perhaps its most notorious feature is, however, engulf. This ability lets your blob move through a creature's space, potentially trapping that creature inside it. There, the creature will then begin to suffocate and take force damage until it's either rescued or annihilated. And if you manage to reduce the blob to 0 hit points, it triggers astral implosion, ejecting all engulfed creatures and objects into the astral sea. A dire reminder that even in victory, the blob leaves its mark. And as a dungeon master, you can ramp up tension by slowly introducing the blob before a climactic confrontation. One idea that I thought of is to have the party traverse the para-elemental plane of ooze, where the environment itself exhibits the blob's dissolving properties. The players will then realize they're contending with something more than just a hazardous terrain when this living, devouring mass comes into view. Alternatively, rumors of powerful artifacts trapped within the blob's goop might serve as a campaign hook in and of itself. Adventurers might learn of a magical key to sigil or the corpse of a god hidden in its swirling depth. Whether you treat the blob as a passing cosmic hazard or the centerpiece of your entire plot, that's entirely up to you. And if you enjoy this topic and want to be part of the conversation, I invite you to join my free Discord community, a welcoming space where you can share your stories, brainstorm homebrew ideas, and engage with like-minded TTRPG fans. Link in the video description below. When running the Blob of Annihilation, remember that Engulf is its main feature. Combine it with Restraining Glob to keep those pesky range attackers from fleeing. And thanks to its legendary actions, the Blob can continually pressure the party by restraining targets and pulling them closer. Players, on the other hand, you should focus on mobility and staying spread out. The Blob might be slow, but its 600-foot reach means that nowhere is truly safe unless you're really prepared. For my Dungeon Masters, you can keep the encounters tense and cinematic by encouraging players, by hints and checks leading up to the encounter, to use spells that deal force or radiant damage, since the Blob doesn't have specific resistances to those. And don't forget about Astral Implosion. You don't want to leave a party member engulfed when the Blob drops to 0, or you'll be adding a rescue mission to the Astral Sea to your itinerary. And that's the lowdown on the Blob of Annihilation, a quite simple at its core cosmic ooze that can challenge even the most powerful adventurers. And if you found this rundown helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more D&D content. Check out my Patreon for bonus materials and join the Discord. Remember that knowledge is power, but sometimes the best strategy is to run before the blob swallows you whole. Until next time, my friends, keep rolling those dice, and may your quests be epic.